3. I'll call the meeting to order and ask for the roll call, please.
Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Baker.
Present.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Ingert.
Here.
Councilmember Forster absent. Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. Would you please rise and join me in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This week is our National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Oh, we do have one with us tonight. Welcome. All right. Thought the chief was accepting. Anyway, we'd like to read this proclamation. As you know, they're our front line, really, our dispatchers. They take the calls, the 911 calls. They soothe people on the other end till the police can get there, or fire or EMS. And really an important Leg and I married a dispatcher's daughter, so I know how important that job is. So this proclamation tonight I'd like to read, whereas when our community faces a crisis, whether on an individual level or on a massive scale, when seconds count and the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, public safety telecommunicators stand ready to answer the call 24 hours a day. And whereas the safety of our police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is dependent upon the skill of our public safety telecommunicators in obtaining accurate information from citizens who contact the Raymore Police Department Communications Center, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are first responders in the truest sense, but often go unheralded for the critical role they play in the success of any police, fire, or EMS call for service. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are a vital link for police officers, firefighters, and paramedics by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas the public safety telecommunicators of the Raymore Police Department contributed immeasurably to the safety of our community by demonstrating compassion, understanding, and professionalism each day in the performance of their duties. Now therefore I, Christopher P. Turnbow, Mayor of the City of Raymore, do hereby proclaim the week of April 9th through April 15th, 2023 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the City of Raymore in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe, In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Raymore to be affixed this 10th day of April 2023. So thank you for accepting this on behalf of the department. We appreciate you very, very much. Thank you. You want to say something about your dispatchers, Chief? In your report? Oh, okay. All right. Thank you all. Thanks, Chief. Next item on our agenda is personal appearances. Tonight we have Craig Shoemaker, who's asked to speak to the City Council this evening. Mr. Shoemaker, if you'll step to the microphone and keep your comments to 5 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. This is not one of those earth-shaking kinds of items, but it is, I think it's a fairly significant one, at least it is in our neighborhood. The handout, I think in front of you,
Yes.
pretty well lays out the case, but let me just read through it here. I have my remarks, which are on the last page, so you can either follow along or just refer to it later. We understand that a plan has been approved by the City Council to install 2 new stop signs at Kreisel and Mossy Streets to create a 3-way stop, and we object to the installation of these 2 stop signs. The section of Kreisel Drive that will be affected is shown on the highlighted area in white on page 1, and it is a through street just 2 blocks long with a cul-de-sac at one end. It's a very short street on that end and a slow curve at the other end, which is even a shorter section. It is intersected by Mossy Street, which is just 1 block long and already has a stop sign where it intersects with Kreisel. Kreisel and Mossy are not busy streets. The intersection is very visible in all directions, and as you know, in our community, stop signs are rarely installed on through streets. I drove around through all the neighborhoods in our area, and the only three-way stop on a through street is on Old Paint, where it does a sharp left from going straight takes you to a cul-de-sac, going left goes on, continues on down Old Paint down to Fox Ridge. On the map there on the front page of that, they are shown in green and red, the stop signs that are being proposed. We object to the 2 stop signs on Kreisel that are highlighted in yellow because Kreisel is a through street and Mossy, the intersecting street, already has a stop sign, just like the ones that are being proposed that you see in green. So the question is, why break the pattern? An addition of 2 stop signs will disrupt the normal expected flow of traffic, because this would be the only place in the area that has a 3-way stop. We also feel that these stop signs are ill-advised. One of the stop signs is merely 9 feet from a mailbox, and this is a cluster mailbox with about 14 or 15 mailboxes in it that are active. As you probably know, most people use a car to pick up their mail from a mailbox, especially from a cluster mailbox, and that mailbox faces the street. It is especially true on Kreisel, where many of the residents are seniors and they have mobility issues. Residents will park in front of the mailbox, and if there's a stop sign there, they technically will be violating the law because you're not allowed to park within 30 feet of a stop sign. Also, that location for that planned stop sign is 36 feet from the actual corner that it's supposed to be controlling. Consequently, stopped vehicles would not only be stopped in front of the mailbox, as you can see in the picture there, but it would also be quite a distance from the intersection, and by the time you get going again, why have a stop sign? You're already traveling 36 feet into an intersection that is supposed to be controlled by a stop sign, but isn't, because the stop sign is 36 feet away. So we know that one reason for putting stop signs up is to increase safety. Certainly understand that. Intersections can be unsafe when something in the area blocks the driver's view of traffic and pedestrians, but as you can see on the pages 2 and 3, there are no buildings, bushes, fences, walls, trees near the corner, and there's rarely even a parked vehicle anywhere near those corners on those 2 streets. One other thought, you may have not know that there are 5 new houses built on the east side of the street. The last one is just finished. The last thing that'd be done on that last one is put the sod in. After that, all the construction that's been going on in that area, which has caused some confusion, some congestion, will be gone, because literally the last house is occupied and the sod is yet to be put down, but that's it. But since this is a low traffic area with very few pedestrians, and I can promise you there are very few pedestrians, safety should not be a concern here any more than it is anyplace else. We appreciate the need to install stop signs. As I noted on the first page of that, the green stop signs are all ones that are being proposed. There have not been any stop signs in timber trails except where the roads intersect Lucy Webb or Dean until now, and except for the one that's already on our corner. But as I say, we already have a stop sign at that intersection. We don't see any logical reason for adding more. They are not needed. They'd be just a hindrance, an obstruction to people traveling through that area, and it could even create a dangerous situation at the stops at the mailboxes. Any questions, comments, objections?
All right, sir. Well, we thank you for your comments, and we'll take them under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Mm. We'll now move on to staff reports. Mr. Fairborn.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Gress to make a staff report for Development Services.
Thank you, sir. Mayor and council, excited to report on the month of March here in the department. Just a couple things I wanted to highlight. A lot of activity, inspection activity going on down at the Commerce Center. Improvements are nearing completion for the landlord improvements for the warehouse where Newly will be locating. That included the excavation of some piers and some utility connections to support the future work going on in that building. At the same time, staff did receive the first submittal, first phase of submittals for the tenant finish plans for Newly. That included some interior racking, some minor utility work, basically the prep for some of the more substantial work that they'll submit in their second and third phases. So really excited to see that project moving ahead quickly. We were told that they have already acquired a fair amount of the equipment that's going to be put into that building, so their schedule that they provided to the council here just a few weeks ago should be pretty easy to maintain of being operational by the end of this year. Looking ahead at a couple of future meetings of items that will make their way to the city council. On April 24th, the council will have a public hearing for the Timber Trails mixed-use project, which is there north of Johnston Drive, south of Walmart. The Planning and Zoning Commission previously recommended approval of that application, and that will make its way to the council for consideration on April 24th. And then later in May, there will be two other items associated with that, in addition to a potential rezoning application for a home in Original Town. So more information to come there. And then lastly, I wanted to let the council know within our department, we did celebrate a milestone this past month. Ty Erickson, our building inspector within the department, celebrated 7 years with the city. So excited to have him here. He's responsible for the majority of the residential construction that goes on in the city. Him and Mr. Warner split them up pretty fairly. And so excited to have him here for a 7th year. That concludes
Excellent.
my staff report.
Thank you, David. Any questions, Mr. Gress? Hearing none, we'll move on. Mr. Feuerborn?
Thank you, Mr. Gress. I would ask Chief Wilson to make a report for the police department.
Evening, Mayor and Council. You've probably heard this paragraph just a while ago written by the mayor, but I'm going to go ahead and read it again. The National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week is held annually during the second week of April to honor public safety telecommunicators for their commitment, service, and sacrifice. So with that being said, we have a small but a hard-working group of communicators, communications officers, 8 full-time dispatchers, 1 reserve dispatcher, 1 dispatch supervisor. They dispatch for 2 police departments, 2 fire departments with 5 stations, and answer animal control, and also after-hours emergency contact for the city for water, public works, parks, etc. They answer 6 911 lines at any given time. They also have 7 non-emergency lines. We are very fortunate to have such dedicated, talented, and patient people. Our dispatchers are the first contact for our citizens. That contact sets the tone for that interaction as well as future interactions, not only for the members of the department, but the entire city. The dispatchers are the backbone of our department, and I would like to thank our dispatchers for what they do all year long and beyond this National Week of Appreciation.
Thank you, sir.
And then I know the look on several of your face after listening to me last year with the NIBRS numbers. I will assure you I won't go line by line. So I have included a copy of that in your packet. I will touch upon the clearances this year. We're up 25% of reports, offenses that we took in. The clearance rate overall is 34%. Last year, we cleared 43%, but our offenses was down, to 596 as in your packet. The interesting thing with NIBRS, again, it's not like UCR. We did take a few reports, like a juvenile shooting under UCR, it would have just been an assault. Under NIBRS, it's an aggravated assault and a robbery. So there's 2 crimes, so that doubles our numbers. There's no hierarchy. Also, another example would be a burglary case in which we took a motor vehicle theft, the burglary, assault, and robbery. So under UCR, that would have been just scored as the highest crime, which would have been the burglary. But under NIBRS, it's scoring each and every one of those criteria. We also were down 2 detectives during the summer months, so that affected our clearance rate just a little bit. The investigations took in 397 felony cases, and they cleared 154. And I think I heard a little bit of whispering about if I had this right or not. We are still waiting for 55 cases, filing decisions that are at the Cass County Prosecutor's Office. Keep in mind, that's not all from the year of 2022. That may include the statute of limitations from 3 years back from now. I compared our numbers with the areas around us. Belton's at 30%, Grandview's at 16% clearance rate, and Lee Summit's at 23% clearance rate. Overall, Raymore's at 34%, and the investigations division is up just a little bit than that, at 38% overall. That concludes my report, sir.
Anybody
Is
have
there any questions?
Chief? Yeah, Mr. Holman.
Chief, thank you. It's a good report. 34% is pretty impressive, whether it's under NIBRS or UCR. I think the national average used to hover somewhere around 20 to 22%. We have tried to invest in technology in the police department over the past couple of years to give you the tools that you need. Do you think that those have been a cause for such a high clearance rate, and have they helped out in other ways that you haven't talked about?
I would say that they have helped out in ways. I think that we're also looking at some additional resources to even improve us in scoring some of the NIBRS scoring criteria.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, so I get a question about the number of offenses. It seems like it jumped up quite a bit on offenses, but we got beat up pretty good there for a while with people breaking into cars too. I mean, folks were leaving their cars open, and a lot of thefts from vehicles. Do you know if that particular number went up significantly that contributed to that?
It went up a little bit. I will tell you that stealing of autos went up tremendously. So those went up, and the stealing from autos is it's on a roller coaster.
Right,
has peaks
it
and
always
valleys.
has been, yeah.
So we're up a little bit with property being
Okay.
stolen out of cars.
And I see an awful lot of 2000, what's the address along the highway? I mean, it ends up being Walmart. A lot of things are happening up there. Have you seen any respite at all there, or are they active at all in their larceny prevention at all?
They're active in their prevention. I mean, the numbers have gone up. One of the things that we spoke about downstairs was the aggravated assaults. We have taken a few more of those up at Walmart. And unfortunately, we don't have any information really to go back and clear. There was no real information gained to go after some of those folks. But
Right.
the numbers are going up there as well.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Chief. Just a reminder to the council that next week on the 17th, we do have a work session scheduled. We have a number of items that could potentially be on that agenda, but one way or the other, we're going to have to call you in because we're going to have to take you into executive session for litigation next week for sure. And we do have litigation on for tonight, executive session as well, sir.
Yeah.
That concludes staff reports.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any questions of Mr. Fearborn? Okay, so we'll move on into the consent agenda. Tonight we have several items, lots of appointments and reappointments on the agenda this evening. I will point out that I did notice one appointment is here this evening, Eric Smith, being appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission to take Mr. Ingert's place in Ward 4, is here with us this evening. And but right now on the consent agenda, I would entertain a motion to dispose of it.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve the consent agenda items A through J as presented.
Oh, you took the easy route. Okay, all right, I see where you're going there. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the
Thank you,
motion.
Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve all items A through J under the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. We have a couple of items of unfinished business now. Move on to, could I please have the second reading of Bill 3796 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3796 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, vacating a portion of a 25-foot rear yard utility easement located on Lot 181 in Edgewater at Creekmore, 6th Plat, a subdivision in the City of Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. Any further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve the second reading of Bill 3796, easement vacation at 807 Bridge Shower Drive, Edgewater at Creekmore, 6th Plat, Lot 181.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3796. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Okay, please have the second reading of Bill 3797 by title only.
The second reading of Bill 3797 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with McGrath Human Resources Group in the amount of $34,218 for the 2023 compensation class study for the City of Raymore.
Thank you. Are there any further questions on that? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of that item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve the second reading of Bill 3797, award of contract for the compensation class study.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3797. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. That concludes old business. We have no new business for first reading this evening, so I'll move on to public comments. If anyone from the public would like to address the council at this time, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, please. I see no one moving forward, so we'll start with our two new council members tonight. Mr. Baker, I'll start with you tonight, sir. Do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to reach out and thank everyone in Ward 1 who voted for me, and also all the residents of Raymore who participated in our election last week. It's a very important thing to do, and again, for those that participated, I thank you for that. Also, just for communications, the dispatchers, I was able to spend time with a police ride-along a few weeks ago, spent some time in police dispatch. Those people are very well deserved of the recognition they received tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ingert.
I'd like to second my new council member's opinion and thank the voters in my Ward 4 as well for their support in the recent election. And I swore tonight that I'm going to take good care of those people, and I really absolutely do the best that I can. I'd like to say thank you to the chief and the dispatchers as well. As a resident of Raymore, I've had the opportunity to utilize their services before. I've always found them to be very professional, very thorough, do a tremendous job of explaining what they can and can't do, and they do follow through with their promises, and that's pretty rare in the law enforcement world this time. So again, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Abdelgawad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will congratulate our re-elected council members and also our new council members and welcome them to this wonderful group of people to work with. I'm sure that they're going to do a great job or continue to do a great job. And then also just a moment to encourage those who didn't prevail on election day to volunteer. We do have a lot of opportunities on our city boards and commissions and opportunities for people to volunteer, and that's a great way to get started, to learn about what you'll need to know when you finally get a seat up here. And along that line, also a moment to recognize our volunteers who were appointed tonight to several of those boards and commissions. We say quite often up here that we couldn't operate as a city without their volunteer support, that even though it's a volunteer job, it's a very important job, and we definitely appreciate the time those people spend giving back to the city. And then, of course, I can't let today pass without thanking our public safety telecommunicators, our dispatchers from the bottom of my heart. We all know they keep our city safe, but most importantly, to me, they keep our police officers, firefighters, emergency workers safe. And it's kind of a thankless job. It's a very stressful job, and it's a job where not much is happening, and then all of a sudden something very, very important is happening. And they manage to keep their cool. They have tons of knowledge so that they can help people who call in and need help. The person who calls 911 is often the person who is giving help to someone in need first while they're waiting for our emergency workers to get there. And I know it's a stressful job, but I just want to make sure they know they're appreciated by our community and specifically by the families of the people they're keeping safe on a regular basis. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Barber?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would agree with everything Councilmember Delgado said, especially about the citizen volunteers. Well said with that. I agree with that totally. I'm going to have a lot of thank yous here, but Chief, thank you for recognizing the national public safety telecommunicators workers. We know how important that job is. There's a big part of your team, and we know when people call in, you know, sometimes it's to report something, or it could be an emergency or whatever. They wear a lot of hats, and that's a tough job, and they probably should be recognized more than just a week, but we do appreciate it. I want to also thank my business partners. I've got a couple of them, and they're allowing me to take tomorrow off so I can represent the city of Raymore and Ward 3 down at Jeff City. So I didn't want to go tonight without thanking them. You know, people kind of forget that it takes, for us to do some of the things we do, we have to have support through family, through coworkers, getting time off, do things like that. That's important, and I do take it seriously, and I thank my business partners for allowing me to do it. I want to welcome the newest council members. I've got to know you guys over the past few months, and Tom, I've known you for a while, but I appreciate you guys wanting to serve. Look forward to serving with you, and want to commit that anything that I can do to help, you have my number. And mostly, I want to thank the citizens of Ward 3 for allowing me to serve my 5th term. I don't take that lightly, and I appreciate their trust, and it's an honor, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. And Mr. Holman?
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to welcome Councilmember Engert and Councilmember Baker to the council on the dais. I think you will find this a very fulfilling experience within your lives. I have known Councilmember Engert for longer than either of us would care to admit, and I have come to know Councilmember Baker over the past couple months. I find them both to be individuals of high integrity and high character, which is exactly what this group is about, and I think that they have the best interests of the citizens of Raymore at heart, and I think that will serve them well. The final thing I would like to say here is my thanks, my heartfelt thanks, and I would ask everyone else to pass this along as well. The people that you see in front of us here, and people up on this dais, in particular the mayor, Councilmember Barber, Councilmember Townsend, the fight that we are in over the landfill has been going on for some time now. But as I believe the mayor stated, this is not a sprint. This is not even a 440 relay. This is a full-on marathon, and it continues every day of every week. The problem is the human being and the human spirit and the human body can only take so much before it starts to wear down. I've seen it in the face of the mayor. I've seen it in the face of Mr. Fearborn and others. Keep up the good fight. Take care of yourselves. We're all behind you. We will be victorious, but we appreciate the sacrifice that you all have given to the city. Mr. Barber kind of mentioned or alluded to it. You have to have your family behind you in these things as well. They have to be understanding, and it's not just those individuals that I mentioned, but it starts down here with Mr. Zur and continues to Mr. Murdoch and all the way down to Mr. Crass on the end and everyone in the middle. So God bless you all and the job that you have done and the job that you continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wanted to welcome the new council members. It's every time we have a new, actually every time this year, there's a new mix, and the majority of us are not up each year, but there's 4 that are up each year. And so there's always a new mix and a new, gumbo of personalities that kind of get together and make this thing work. And, a good gumbo's not going to be runny. It's nice and thick, and we're all in it together. I don't know where that came from, but there it is. Anyway, excuse me. I also wanted to thank the dispatchers. I was glad to know they have so many non-emergency numbers, because there have been times that I feel like I'm bothering them again and calling and tying up the one number that somebody could call in. So I do what I can to thank them each week by not calling them about the same things that my children are reminding me that I'm getting older every day. Speaking of that, I want to thank the last group of people, the best group of people, honestly, that we have in our town. The people that got out and voted last week. Councilman Barber and I sat and we watched how many of the people that came and voted had mobility issues. How many people that had different wars that they were representing on their hats or their coats, and they were doing what they could to ambulate up the way, and if we could, we tried to direct them away from the stairs. People that are just barely making it to get to the polls, I mean, who can we honor more? So I definitely want to thank those people, no matter who you voted for. I appreciate you coming out, and we need more people to ascribe to those values. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's definitely hard to follow all the comments and try to come up with something different, but I will have one different one now that Mr. Burke has brought up gumbo. Now I want gumbo, so thank you for that. But on a serious note, thank you again to all the newly elected council members. Welcome to the dais. Welcome to the service of the community. And thank you to our re-elected council members. It's a pleasure to serve with you. And as Mr. Holman has said, the fight that we're up against is a never-ending fight. There are some small battles that are won, but still the war is still on. So we're still very heavily engaged in staff under Mr. Fearborn's leadership and the mayor's leadership, and several others within the communities, their leadership in their own way, finding ways to engage and keep this fight going, because it's not over yet. Even when this bill passes, it's still not over yet, because there's still things in play trying to make this a reality. So thank you to the community. And there's been enough said this evening. Again, as Ms. Abdelgawad has said, thank you to all the volunteers that were appointed or reappointed this evening, especially to Mr. Smith for your attendance tonight, drudging through the entirety of this evening. And as my comments trail off, I will note the time is 7:03, which we would have started, and now we're potentially ending early this evening. So thank you to those who voted to shift the start times to 6 p.m. So we have an earlier evening than we typically do. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and council members. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir. And I also want to reiterate what my colleagues have already said here this evening. Congratulations to those who were elected and re-elected. We appreciate your committedness to serving your city and your citizens. With regard to the dispatchers or public safety telecommunicators, I guess is what the official title is. I'm not sure how special people really appreciate the ability of our dispatchers. What's unique about the dispatchers here in Raymore and the other 4 PSAPs here in the county is that they all dispatch for fire and EMS as well as police, and that requires additional training and a lot of additional training for EMD dispatch as well as police dispatch. A lot of the agencies in our area will defer those calls to medical dispatchers. Ours don't. They get directly to the service that is required for that 911 call. And it takes a lot of dedication for them to stay on top of their game when that particular call comes in, not only to decide what type of service that individual needs, but then to provide the kind of direction to those people to help even save the life of a loved one who might be laying there on the floor needing the help. So our dispatchers are pretty important to us here in Cass County, have been ever since they took on that responsibility, and they do a great job with it for the kind of money that they make. But they are dedicated public servants, and I'm glad the state of Missouri finally recognized them as first responders as well for taking advantage of the retirement system as well. But congratulations to those who were recognized or are being recognized this week for their work in that vocation. Tomorrow is a big day where the group is going down to Jefferson City to testify before the Senate committee. We believe we have the momentum in our direction, and we will keep working very hard for the citizens of Raymore and the surrounding communities. We feel and have become the voice for many of those people, and that burden is somewhat heavy on our shoulders, but I've got a strong team to carry that burden, and we will take that down to Jefferson City and convey that message strongly tomorrow, along with many of our stakeholder partners, and I believe we will be successful in our efforts. So a few prayers will help us along the way, so if you'll do that about 1 p.m. tomorrow, we'd appreciate it. That's when the meeting convenes, and hopefully we'll hear in a couple of days of that process and what the outcome of tomorrow's testimony will be. With that, I'll close my comments, and I'll request a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that the Raymore City Council move into executive session to discuss litigation as authorized by Revised Missouri Statute 610, paragraph 021, subparagraph 1.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to move into executive session. Could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Forster absent. Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
We will now move into executive session, and when we're through, we'll come out to adjourn from regular session. Thank you.